Today, AMD is making multiple new announcements, and I'm bringing it all to you for the embargo release. So if you like being the first to learn all the latest PC hardware news, make sure you subscribe to GamerMeld. Either way, the leaks were right. As you can see right here, AMD has officially announced an update to both the Ryzen 5 9600X and Ryzen 7 9700X, bringing their TDP up to 105 watts. And if you want to get this, all you have to do is look for the BIOS update for your motherboard with this AGISA update in it. And in it, they do discuss performance. I'll get to that in just one second though, because at least to me, I think the most important part here is the fact that this is warranty, meaning if you do end up installing this BIOS with this AGISA update and you set your CPU to 105 watts, it is not considered an overclock, therefore it is under warranty. Or I don't know, it may technically still be considered an overclock. Either way, it's warranted, so the void that normally happens when you overclock your CPU is not the case here. And when it comes to performance, as you can see right here, it gets up to 10% faster. And of course, for a software update, that's certainly not bad at all, except for when you look at the fact that you're going from 65 watts to 105 watts, which is a 61% increase in wattage. Still, given the fact that AMD CPUs are flat fantastic power draw wise and everything, this really still isn't bad at all, though I will say that they say right here, so I mean, this is just up to 10% faster, but it isn't actually telling us what it's 10% faster in, what it's lower, or anything like that. It then says results will be impacted by multiple factors, including cooling solution. I mean, obviously that is the case, but it does say to see the end note, and we have that right here. And as you can see, it says testing as of August 2024 by AMD Performance Labs on a test system configured with a Ryzen 5 9600X GB X670 motherboard, 2x6GB dual channel DDR5 6000. Now it does say Cinebench R23, but then it says results may vary and are based on several factors, including system configuration, application, and software, meaning that 10% is a little odd. So I would definitely suggest wait for reviewers to try this out to see if it's actually worth going from 65 watts to 105 watts. And really, given the fact that we're only talking up to 10% more, it at least does sort of make sense now why they release these at 65 watts. And next up, while making Ryzen 9000 better, they have made the core-to-core latency optimizations completely official. If you remember with this one, I discussed the fact that for whatever reason, Ryzen 9000 had really terrible core-to-core latencies, even when we're comparing it, or especially when we're comparing it to last gen's Ryzen 7000. Well, as you can see right here, it says some websites have reported higher than expected core-to-core latency on dual CCD models. So we're really talking a lot of the biggest core-to-core latencies was when communicating cross CCD modules. Either way, you can see the methods used to expose this uses a corner case scenario. We expect minimal impact in real world applications. And if you remember when I last discussed this, there were a few people who were sort of thinking that basically what this was is that it was actually only an issue with optimization within the specific synthetic benchmark that people were doing to find this, meaning this didn't actually happen in real world benchmarks, and that does seem to be the case here. Although I do remember seeing like a 1% or so increase in performance, and of course, every little bit counts. And next up, if you remember a little while back, Hardware Unboxed actually found out that AMD was using admin mode to test Ryzen 9000 within Windows 11. And because of that, there were actually some performance optimizations that had happened within that the average person didn't get. Then Microsoft released an optional Windows 11 update that basically let you get those. Well, these branch prediction optimizations are now no longer optional, and they are included in both Windows 11 version 23H2, this build right here, or 24H2 with this build or newer. And of course, this actually does bring with it some actual real world performance increases, so that's fantastic, but it doesn't just increase performance for Ryzen 9000, but also older generations of Ryzen as well, and also Intel CPUs. This one really has been a wild ride, but it is actually coming to official Windows 11 versions, so that's obviously great for everyone. And lastly for today, AMD's elusive X870 motherboards are officially here. Obviously, it was really odd when they didn't release these with Ryzen 9000. You would think that they would, but they didn't. But at least as of now, they are finally here, and they gave us one little extra detail. As you can see, they do get one-click AMD Expo memory overclock to DDR5 8000. Now, that may sound awesome. As many of you know, AMD is very heavily dependent on memory speed, but if you've been following this channel, you should know that you actually shouldn't expect all that much performance out of DDR5 8000. The reason being is that after you get past DDR5 6000, it decouples the memory clock with the memory controller clock, and that goes into a 1:2 ratio. So right past DDR5 6000, you actually get a drop in performance. And from what I've seen, and I've actually covered this in a previous video where I tested this with higher memory speeds with Ryzen 9000, so I'll have that video linked up here if you want to check that out. But basically, you don't really get all that much performance. Not only that, but at least some of the X670 boards can already go up to 8000, though I will say that from what I've seen, there isn't really all that many, but still, you're not really looking at all that much more performance. Either way, these boards are here, and unfortunately, they really aren't much of an upgrade over the X670 boards, so unless you need a specific feature that they have, if you find an X670 board that's cheaper, even really just a little bit, I definitely suggest that one. Regardless, like I said, they are here. So while that does it for today, do any of these updates make you want to purchase Ryzen 9000? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And as always, have a great day.